Welcome back to the show. Today we are talking about load management, or the NBA's new star resting policy. If you're unfamiliar with load management, the best way I can describe it is teams resting their best players during the regular season, even if they aren't injured. So the first time we saw load management was all the way back in 2012. The originators of load management were actually the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs had a huge game against the former champions, the Miami Heat. This was a televised game, and that is very important. The Spurs sat all 5 of their starters. You can imagine that fans, Turner Broadcasting, and the league were very pissed about this. Everyone tunes in to see the Heatles versus Duncan, Parker, and Kawhi, and they get Matt Bonner. I assume he was on the team at the time. So David Stern, the commissioner at the time, slapped the Spurs with a $250,000 fine. Woo, big deal. Obviously that didn't really change anything. Teams have been managing their loads for the last 10 years. Most notably, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler are known for taking time off during the regular season, especially as they get into the twilight of their careers. And if you're Kawhi, you might even take a playoff game off every once in a while. So the first group that is disgruntled about this issue is the fans. The most notable story that has become an acute example of what's wrong with the league is the story about the Argentinian family who flew over 4,000 miles so their son could watch Jimmy Butler play, only to find out that Jimmy Butler wasn't playing. And of course, Jimmy Butler came out during halftime and gave him a signed basketball, shook his hand, and he got a free massage from one of the Heat girls. You know, all that stuff they do for kids. I will say, I did watch the video. When he finds out that Jimmy's not playing, it's pretty heartbreaking. But isn't life kind of heartbreaking? Aren't you supposed to feel the weight of a couple massive L's throughout your entire lifetime? Is there some beauty in taking a massive risk and it not paying off? I'm getting ahead of myself. But this story is also an example of appealing to extremes. Take the most extreme example of something that's happened to prove a point. You can do it with anything. For instance, this new resting policy for the league could lead to a guy playing a back-to-back and rupturing his Achilles in the first 5 minutes of the second game. This does not mean that that policy is stupid or dangerous, just means that sometimes bad things happen. There's also a lot of scrutiny when it comes to load management from ex-players. Richard Jefferson said that the idea of leaving it all on the court is totally gone from the NBA, and the always salty Charles Barkley is stoked that the league is forcing these prima donnas to play and give the people what they paid for. Here's the problem though, by forcing NBA stars to play, you're reinforcing the idea that the NBA is not about teams, it's about players. Star players, in fact. I say reinforcing because there is no question the NBA markets itself through its stars, through its players. If you're advertising a game, it's LeBron and the Lakers taking on Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, or Steph Curry and the Warriors. As if you could take Jason Tatum and compare him to Tom Petty, and then Malcolm Brogdon is just one of the other heartbreakers. These are basketball games, they are not celebrity meet and greets. I don't believe the NFL has this problem. And even to appeal to the extreme against my own argument, think about Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Aaron Rodgers goes down in the first 5 minutes of the Jets season. People are still gonna go watch Jets games because they want to hear about that narrative arc, especially if you're a Jets fan. Obviously, there are going to be some drop-offs from simps who just wanted to watch Aaron Rodgers play, but like I've said before, the NFL sells its teams. So if you really believe in the game and you believe in the product you're selling, sell the competition itself, regardless of who is on the court representing whatever team. One of these teams will win, one of these teams will lose. That's enough to make it interesting. Both teams' records will change for better or worse, putting them in a worse or better position for the postseason. If I'm Commissioner Adam Silver, I want fans that are invested in the teams themselves. I want fans who know who Nicholas Batum is. One second. I want fans who proudly sport their Reggie Jackson bobblehead in their bedroom. Not a fan who wants to tell people at the water cooler that he saw Kyrie Leonard dunk on Kawhi Irving. I heard a guy say this once. So let's get into the specifics of this new policy. Star players must be available for televised games or in-season tournament games. A star player is a guy that's been an all-star within the last 3 seasons. Also, this rule punishes teams who have lots of all-stars. Also, single game absences need to be balanced between home games and away games, preferring home game absences, which I thought was weird. You'd prefer a guy sit out when most of the fans in the stadium are there for them? Then I realized, oh, there are people in Orlando who are not going to go to a Magic game unless Steph Curry's playing. There are people who want to go see Steph Curry when the Warriors are in town and they don't even know who Franz Wagner is. We won't want the good people of Orlando to miss out on a celebrity sighting. The thing is, players over the age of 35 have exemptions anyway in this new policy. Also, a team can write a formal request asking if a player can take a night off. And not to mention, players get injured all the time anyway. They're not going to do a full-on investigation every time a player supposedly rolls an ankle. So this policy feels almost impossible to police, right? It's almost like it's a publicity stunt from the league. Especially because it doesn't really seem like players or teams are pushing back all that much. So I think all of this is a song and dance for the media companies that are bidding on the TV rights next year. The current deal between the NBA, ESPN, and Warner expires in 2025. The next deal is going to be ginormous. Amazon's bidding on it, Apple's bidding on on it. These companies have piles of money that they don't know what to do with. It's gonna cost a lot to air an NBA game. This is Adam Silver's way of saying, hey, look what you're gonna get. Stars versus stars every night. No more of this load management bull. Adam Silver harps on the fact that this is an 82-game season. He's trying to reinforce to these media companies that they're gonna get every game that they paid for. Personally, on this issue, I am very glad. I've been really frustrated with this talk of shortening the season to 60 games. And honestly, I'm a little bit disappointed on Nick Friedel and Brian Windhorst for saying that this was a good idea. Saying that less games would make the games more meaningful. Which, of course, it would. Less games, the games would be more important, but it's less basketball. I want at least 5 games to choose from on League Pass every night. It's like saying that abstinence is a form of birth control. Like, I guess you're right, but you're kind of missing the point. So the league is trying to reinforce the fact that if you pay for the logo on the jersey rights, if you pay for the stadium naming rights, if you pay for the TV rights, you are going to get the NBA product that they are selling, which is stars dunking on stars, not the teams themselves. No one cares about the teams. No one cares about passing, team basketball. No one cares about Nicholas Batum, and it sucks. So here's the thing, the league doesn't sell the teams, but this new policy is directed at the teams. The teams are the ones that are sitting their star players. I think the way it should be is that if a team wants to sit Kawhi or Klay Thompson all season, they should be able to do that. That's their strategy, man. And then they can just break the glass when the playoffs come. And organizations should be able to manage their team the way that they see fit, as long as that is winning and not losing games to tank, okay? So now you have the league dictating how teams should manage themselves, which is not good. The league can only serve one master. They can either serve the teams and let them do what they want in order to have a successful season, or they can serve the companies who generate the revenue. And they can ensure that they get Damian Lillard sandwiched between a Tide commercial and a trailer for the new Avengers Rise of the Epididymis or Eruption of the Epididymis. I don't know, I haven't seen those movies. Which I do understand this. You need money. You need to at least somewhat do something for the people who are generating the revenue. I understand. And I can't act like I wasn't disappointed when Joel Embiid ducked Nikola Jokic this year in Denver. Embiid had calf soreness and he wasn't gonna let the MVP race get into the way of what was best for the Philadelphia 76ers. Obviously, Embiid won the MVP anyway, but this did put him behind in the ladder versus Jokic. But good for Embiid. Sitting that game and taking the L was probably the right move for the Philadelphia 76ers. And people gave him shit about this. They called him a coward. This probably bruised his ego really bad. But I honestly think he did the right move for the team. A win against the MVP contender counts just as much as a win against the Detroit Pistons that are rebuilding. Think about it. A win's a win. You can't take a regular season game, put it on a larger platform and say this game is more significant than the other 81 games. It's not. It's a +1 in the win column, or it's a +1 in the loss column. Just like any game on League Pass that's running during a Monday Night Football game. I don't know if it's for better or worse, but the NBA is definitely trying to appeal more to a casual fan. I think it's more beneficial for the league to have lots of fans that occasionally go to a game, maybe bought a jersey and watch First Take every morning. That's more lucrative than having a couple deeply invested fans that are looking at the league as a whole. Guys who can appreciate a story about Jared Vanderbilt getting a contract extension or Kelly Oubre signing a 1-year vet minimum with the Sixers. Guys and girls, not really girls, but guys and girls like us. All right, well, that's my take. If you have a different take, always leave a comment because I always respond. And if you enjoyed the video, like the video. Be good to your mothers. I think that's all I had to say. And eat a corn dog, baby.